Morning arrives, not gently, but brutally. The oppressive darkness of the night, which offered no true rest, reluctantly yields to a gray, damp light filtering through the small, high slit that serves as a window. The dimness doesn't clear the air, which is heavy with the stale, thick amalgamation of rot, unwashed sweat, and the perpetual smoke that coats every surface and never leaves your lungs. You try to take a deep breath, but the effort is rewarded only with a hacking cough, a sound that quickly joins the endless, low-level chorus of human and animal noise. Your body aches before you move. Every muscle protests the slightest shift, a stiffness born not of exertion, but of the cold that permeated the walls and settled deep into your bones hours ago. Your joints are stiff, protesting the damp chill and the unyielding surface beneath you. Your skin crawls with bites you scratched all night without relief, turning simple discomfort into a feverish, maddening itch. You did not sleep. The word sleep implies restoration. What you experienced was a fitful, shallow period of unconsciousness, constantly interrupted. You lay on straw, damp, flattened, and crawling with insects, listening to the ceaseless, intimate sounds of the small, shared dwelling. No silence exists here. Animals breathe beside you, the heavy, rhythmic snorts of a pig or the shifting of livestock housed nearby for warmth. People cough endlessly. The chronic, wet rasping of neighbors suffering from chest complaints is the background music of your life. There is no comfort waiting for you. The ritual of a modern morning is an alien dream. No warm shower, no privacy, no scented soap, nothing to truly cleanse the grime that is now a permanent layer on your skin. No clean clothes. Your rough wool tunic is the same one you wore yesterday and the day before, carrying the odors of the fire and the fields. No fresh start awaits you. You wake already exhausted, already weakened by the night's false rest and the relentless cold. As your eyes adjust, you realize the urgency of the hour, not by a clock, but by the increasing commotion of the world outside, the lowing of oxen, the shouts of the overseer, the clanging of the smithy. You must move, but the thought of standing is an effort, and hunger greets you like an old companion, a gnawing hollowness that has been a part of your being since childhood. It is not the selective hunger of modern times. It is the deep, desperate demand of a body burning scarce fuel. It is a hunger you will carry through the entire day, a constant reminder of the scarcity that defines your existence. This is the start of another day in which survival is the only goal, and the world offers no mercy. The work, the cold, the dirt, and the endless fatigue are already waiting outside the door. Your stomach tightens into a knot, sending a piercing primal signal of emptiness. But this isn't unusual here. This sickening void is the default setting. In the medieval grind, people do not eat when they are hungry. Forget your grab-and-go convenience. They eat only when food exists, and when the grim calendar of the harvest allows it. The gnawing ache that afflicts you is not an alarm bell, but a shared chronic condition, the daily price of being a peasant. Morning offers you a shocking inventory of misery. Your first course is bread so hard it cracks teeth, a dense, unrefined rye loaf, often gritty with contaminants, or worse, laced with the terrifying ergot fungus that causes hallucinatory fits. You have to gnaw at it, risking dental collapse just for a few meager calories. Next, the gruel so thin it barely qualifies as food, a watery gray slop of boiled beans and peas that is less a meal and more a weak, tasteless paste designed only to occupy stomach space. You wash it down not with coffee or bottled water, but with ale, because water cannot be trusted. You are drinking a weak, warm, unfiltered beer, not for enjoyment, but because the process of boiling it makes it marginally safer than the parasite-ridden ditch water. You are essentially mildly buzzed all day every day just to avoid dysentery. There is no sugar, no spices to mask the rot, no salt in abundance. That precious mineral is a heavily taxed luxury. There is no joy in this consumption. Food is merely fuel, and sometimes a slow, agonizing poison. Your modern body, programmed for protein shakes and 3 square meals, screams in distress. It registers the catastrophic caloric deficit, the sheer lack of vitamin C, the overwhelming failure of nutrition. But no one notices your internal collapse. The gaunt, hardened faces around you offer no pity. Hunger is ordinary. It is the uniform of the working class. You choke down your portion, desperately trying to memorize the feeling of having something in your gut, knowing the 18 hours of backbreaking labor ahead will be powered by nothing but an aching emptiness. The cool, flowing river nearby, the one that looks so deceptively clear and inviting, beckons. But you know, deep down, that water will try to kill you. It is the great paradox of the medieval world. The source of life is also the source of death. You walk towards the bank, and the reality of the community's sanitation, or lack thereof, hits you, not just as a stench, but as a chilling fact. The river carries every element of village life, seamlessly mixing the sacred need for water with the profane realities of disposal. It carries human waste from the city chamber pots tossed carelessly from windows upstream or the ditches bordering your fields. It carries animal corpses, a dead dog, a goat that perished from illness, left to rot in the current. It carries rotting food and the runoff from every butcher and tanner operating along the banks. The same water is used for everything: drinking, washing clothes, dumping sewage, and milling grain. There is no separation, no sanitation department, no concept of pathogen transmission. You don't know this yet in a scientific sense, but your body knows the terrible risk. Your thirst, however, wins the battle over caution. You cup your hands and bring the murky, lukewarm liquid to your lips. It tastes faintly metallic, earthy, and wrong, but it is wet. You drink, and inside your body, something begins, invisible, silent, deadly. A microscopic army of bacteria and parasites, E. coli, typhoid, cholera, dysentery, has just been ingested. You have willingly consumed the seeds of your own undoing. There are no filters, no chlorine, no municipal purification plant, no modern medicine waiting to intervene. There is only luck. Within hours, perhaps less, the cramping starts. It's a sudden, violent wrenching in your gut, quickly followed by the debilitating, watery evacuation that strips your body of its essential fluids. The cycle begins: desperate thirst followed by painful, rapid dehydration. Every sip you take to recover only feeds the invisible enemy inside. You have fallen prey to the most common killer in the Middle Ages. You become weak, feverish, delirious. You are not a victim of a great plague, but of a simple glass of water. And luck is not generous in the Middle Ages. Bathing is rare, a major event usually reserved for feast days or specific rites, done in shared, lukewarm water that is quickly fouled. Soap is crude, often made of animal fat and ash, harsh and inefficient. Clothes are worn until they fall apart, rarely washed, merely beaten or scraped free of the worst grime. Your skin is a constant, inflamed battlefield. It is home to an army of unseen occupants, fleas jumping from the straw bedding, lice nesting in the unwashed wool and hair, and burrowing mites causing the incessant, maddening itch of scabies. Scratching these inevitably leads to open sores, which quickly fester and turn septic in this world without antibiotics. Inside your mouth, the slow horror continues. Your diet of rough grain and lack of dental care means your teeth rot slowly, painfully, inevitably. There is no relief, just constant throbbing agony. Infections begin in the mouth, abscesses, gum disease, and the bacteria spreads, silently poisoning the body and leading to fatal fevers. The omnipresent reality of your environment is the smell of medieval life, an olfactory assault that is impossible to escape. It is the inescapable stench of rot from spoiled food, the sharp acid of waste tossed into the streets, the heavy soot of smoke clinging to the air, and the sickly, cloying scent of blood from the local butcher or wound. Above all, it is the pungent, communal odor of unwashed bodies. There is not choice, not ambition driving you, only the immediate, brutal imperative of survival. The medieval workday is a grinding, unrelenting exchange of physical effort for the chance to live another day. Your task, dictated by the Lord's bailiff or the season, is invariably manual, heavy, and repetitive. You carry heavy loads of stone, wood, or manure until your muscles shake and burn. You dig into the hard, packed earth with a heavy, primitive spade until your hands are blistered and raw. Soon, the blisters burst, and the pain is secondary to the fear of infection. You stand, bent over the plow or the hoe, for 12 to 14 hours until your legs feel hollow and your spine screams. Pain is not treated. Pain is expected. It is a constant companion, the natural consequence of working the land with tools designed to punish the flesh. There are no sick days, no workers' compensation, and certainly no pain relievers. You simply endure it. This labor knows no age limit. Children work beside you, performing tasks suited to their size, their small bodies already hardened and warped by the demand. The elderly work until they collapse, their tenure on the land depending on their ability to contribute a final, meager output. The social contract is simple and unforgiving. If you stop, you are useless. If you are useless, you are hungry. If you are hungry, you die. Your modern body, softened by comfort, optimized for sitting, and accustomed to quick rest and recovery, begins to fail instantly. The strain on your unconditioned muscles, the constant exposure to the elements, the lack of proper nutrition, and the inevitable infections from cuts and scrapes would overwhelm you. Your modern tolerance for pain is non-existent here, and no one slows down for you. The rhythm of the work is set by the ox, the sun, and the pressing need for the harvest. A simple, careless mistake while handling a splintered tool or rough wood, just a scratch. In the modern world, this is a minor inconvenience washed away with water and a dab of antiseptic. But here, in the medieval darkness, scratches rot. There is no antiseptic. There are no antibiotics. There are no sterile bandages. The bacteria that thrive in the filth of your clothing and environment immediately invade the open tissue. Within hours, the sight of the scratch becomes angry and painful. The wound swells, it darkens, and soon it smells wrong, the sickly sweet stench of necrosis beginning. A debilitating fever follows, the body's desperate, losing battle against the encroaching infection. You are now truly sick. Your family might summon a barber surgeon, the closest thing to a doctor. If you can find one, their methods are terrifyingly crude and often fatal. The surgeon might attempt to purge the bad humors causing the illness. They will cut you open to drain pus, drain blood with crude knives, or apply leeches to balance the corrupted fluids. They might whisper prayers or apply poultices made of herbs and spiderwebs, treatments derived from superstition rather than science. If the localized infection, now likely cellulitis or gangrene, spreads further up the limb, threatening to become sepsis, they face the grim final option, amputation. They amputate. The procedure is carried out with saws and searing irons to stop the bleeding, but there is no anesthesia. There is no mercy, just the terrifying pain of being held down while your limb is violently separated from your body. And even then, you often die. Not from the wound itself, but from the massive, unstoppable shock and the subsequent inevitable infection that sets in where the wound was created. The simplest scratch, dismissed carelessly in the morning, has become a death sentence by dusk. The houses are packed with entire families, and often their livestock, living shoulder to shoulder in single, unventilated rooms. This tight, unsanitary proximity creates the perfect environment for illness to spread. Rats thrive in the piles of refuse, and fleas bite, carrying unseen pathogens from one host to the next. Disease moves faster than fear. When sickness arrives, it doesn't knock. It takes children first, their less developed immune systems offering no defense. Then the weak, the old, and the malnourished. Then, with terrifying speed, it strikes the strong. This swift, indiscriminate devastation is most vividly remembered in the terrifying speed with which the Black Death kills entire villages. People don't understand why. Germ theory is millennia away. They have no concept of invisible microbes causing illness. They search desperately for reasons, clinging to explanations that fit their religious and cosmological worldview. They blame God's wrath, the malice of witches, or ominous alignments of the stars. The efforts of those trying to help are useless, and often darkly humorous to modern eyes. Doctors wear masks filled with herbs, the iconic plague masks, believing that the foul smell, miasma, causes the death. They believe if they can filter the air with sweet scents, they can ward off the sickness. Nothing helps. Their treatments, bloodletting and purging, only hasten the patient's death by draining the body of strength. You would not know how to protect yourself. You would use the same contaminated water, breathe the same smoky, disease-laden air, and live next to the same sick neighbors. Your modern knowledge of isolation, sanitation, and hand-washing would be irrelevant in a world where those practices are impossible. In the medieval world, the simple act of eating is a calculated risk, a gamble where the odds are perpetually stacked against you. You are constantly battling the reality that what you consume may already be rotting. There is no refrigeration, no complex supply chain ensuring freshness, only the desperate, failing methods of preservation. Meat, a rare commodity for the peasant, is preserved through heavy salting, transforming it into a hard, desiccated slab. It's not fresh, it's merely non-perishable. You are consuming a piece of carcass that is months old, its flavor overwhelmed by salt, its structure fundamentally altered. When the grain, the staple of your diet, is stored poorly, bread grows mold, but is eaten anyway. The mold is often scraped off, the underlying risk ignored, because throwing away food is not an option. It is a direct threat to survival. The diet is cripplingly monotonous. Vegetables are rare, limited to meager garden plots of root vegetables and cabbages. Fruit is seasonal and often consumed only briefly before spoiling completely. The lack of fresh produce guarantees chronic nutritional deficiencies, leaving you vulnerable to diseases like scurvy. This toxic combination of spoiled food, desperate consumption, and low hygiene means that food poisoning is common and deadly. Your stomach, already weak from constant hunger and poor quality water, rebels violently. Vomiting and debilitating diarrhea are not unusual digestive issues. They are life-threatening crises. When the body begins to purge itself, dehydration sets in rapidly. There is no IV, no rehydration solution available to replenish the lost fluids and electrolytes. There is just weakness, a crushing fatigue that renders you unable to work, unable to drink safely, and unable to fight the underlying infection. You lie in your filthy cot, your fate sealed by a bad piece of bread or a contaminated bowl of gruel. Survival hinges entirely on the resilience of your immune system and blind hope. In the medieval world, simply existing as a woman places you in constant, intimate proximity to death. From the moment you reach childbearing age, pregnancy is expected. It is the primary purpose society assigns you, the essential engine for creating the next generation of laborers and ensuring the continuation of the peasant household. But this expectation comes with an almost guaranteed payment in suffering. Pain is guaranteed, and survival is not. Every successful pregnancy is considered a miracle, and every delivery is a terrifying gamble with your life. Childbirth kills countless women, not just during the act, but in the dangerous days and weeks that follow. The causes are numerous and unstoppable. There is no surgery for complications like severe tearing, obstructed labor, where the baby cannot pass, or a ruptured uterus. There are no antibiotics to fight the puerperal fever, the raging, often fatal infection that sweeps through the mother's body after the birth. There is no understanding of proper sanitation or sterile practice. The very hands that assist the delivery may carry lethal microbes. Midwives do what they can, relying on generations of folk knowledge, herbal remedies, and fervent prayer. But their limitations are profound. They have no tools to intervene when the body fails. Many women bleed out on dirt floors, the trauma of the delivery overwhelming a body already weakened by malnutrition and hard labor. Others survive, but never recover, left with permanent, debilitating injuries like fistulas that make them incontinent, ill, and often lead to social isolation for the rest of their shortened lives. The dangers do not end with delivery. If you survive, you immediately begin the cycle again, nursing the new baby while returning to the relentless demands of the household economy. This continuous cycle of physical depletion, constant pregnancy, high infant mortality, and heavy physical labor wears down the female body mercilessly, leading to early frailty and rapid aging. Beyond the biological dangers, equality does not exist. Your legal rights are minimal, dictated first by your father and then entirely by your husband. The concept of childhood as a protected, carefree period of development simply does not exist. From the moment they are born, infants are engaged in a silent, desperate fight for survival that few will win. The statistics are devastating and reflect a grim truth understood by every mother and father. A significant portion of infants will not see their first birthday, and the majority will not make it before their fifth birthday. The killers are relentless and varied. Disease, often brought by contaminated water or unhygienic conditions, sweeps through the cramped, smoky homes. Hunger is a constant threat, and even in times of plenty, malnutrition weakens the small bodies, leaving them defenseless. Exposure to the brutal cold and damp drafts of the poorly insulated huts is enough to turn a simple chill into fatal pneumonia. They are not protected by the medical safeguards, sanitation, or nutritional stability that define the modern age. Instead, they are prepared to work or to die. By the age of 6 or 7, a child is a working apprentice, fetching water, gathering firewood, scaring birds from the crops, or tending livestock. Their value is directly tied to their productive labor. A child who cannot contribute is an economic liability in a family fighting for subsistence. When death arrives, it is not a singular, shattering event, but a frequent visitor. The loss of a child becomes a painful, expected element of life. Parents grieve quietly, privately, for public displays of overwhelming sorrow are a luxury few can afford. They cannot stop the labor, the rituals, or the demands of the manor to mourn properly. Death is too common for ceremony to be elaborate or long. A small, hasty burial in the churchyard, and then the return to the field, driven by the knowledge that the surviving children must be protected and the harvest must be brought in. In the medieval landscape, violence is not an aberration. It is a fundamental, accepted condition of life, woven into the very fabric of society and justice. Justice is brutal. Forget due process or lengthy court battles. The system is swift, biased toward the powerful, and terrifyingly punitive. The law's ultimate purpose is not rehabilitation, but deterrence, achieved through spectacle. Punishment is entertainment. Public displays of agony are routine. Executions draw crowds, turning the deliberate killing of a person into a popular, mandatory social event designed to reinforce the Lord's authority. Hangings, beheadings, and public whippings are viewed as morally necessary theater. If accused of a crime, you might face trial by ordeal, a barbaric process where your innocence is decided by whether you survive holding a red-hot iron or being plunged into cold water. Torture is legal, routinely used by secular and ecclesiastical authorities to extract confessions. Beyond the official cruelty, the threat of spontaneous, unregulated violence looms large. War is constant, not just between kingdoms, but localized conflicts between rival lords, resulting in raiding parties sweeping through villages and destroying crops. These military actions are indistinguishable from criminality. Bandits roam freely, taking advantage of the poor communications and weak central authority. Whether they are deserters, landless men, or displaced peasants, they represent a constant threat of theft, assault, and murder for those traveling between settlements or living in remote areas. If your village is attacked, or if you are set upon by a thief on the road, no one comes. There is no centralized police force to call upon. Local self-defense is all you have, relying on the unreliable bravery of neighbors wielding pitchforks and axes. If you are injured or killed, the legal inquest may happen weeks later, and the culprit may never be found. Life is cheap, the guiding principle of this society. A manorial court fine for assaulting a neighbor is far more common than any meaningful retribution. The threshold for violence, whether in a tavern brawl fueled by ale or a dispute over a strip of land, is desperately low. The Middle Ages were not romantic. They were relentless, a grinding, terrifying test of endurance against overwhelming odds. If you, armed with your 21st century expectations of hygiene, medicine, and comfort, were sent back into this brutal, unyielding reality, your fate would be sealed almost instantly. Your modern knowledge wouldn't save you from the contaminated water you must drink. Your physical strength wouldn't save you from the infectious pathogens thriving in every open wound. Your intelligence wouldn't save you from the arbitrary, deadly justice of the manorial court. Luck would decide. Luck would determine if you ate tainted rye, if the plague-ridden flea bit your neighbor instead of you, or if the manorial lord chose to seize your land that year. And luck rarely favored anyone. The honest, terrifying answer is clear. You wouldn't last a day. Not because you're weak, but because the world was cruel beyond imagination. This era was a war against nature, against disease,